It's time for me to do the easiest / hardest review that I've done yet in all my time at I Dream of Indie Games and here at I Dream of Retro Games. Today, I'm going to be taking a look at the Making of Karateka, aka Karateka, aka, well, let's just take a look at what Jordan Mechner has to say.
Karateka.
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 Karateka?
Karateka.
Karateka. Karateka.
Karateka, and if it's Karateka, I've never heard that before. So maybe Jordan says it that way. I don't know. But I know we all said Karateka.
So good news, everybody. It doesn't matter how we say it, so don't get mad at me when I say it differently from you, and I might even say it different ways throughout this review. And more good news. If you so choose, you can help us out by taking a look over at patreon.com/idreamofindiegames. So yeah, today we're going to be taking a look at something that's a little bit different. It's not a game in the usual sense or even a game collection. It's more of an interactive documentary. Think of the Making of Karateka being like going through the bonus features on your favorite movie on a Blu-ray. You know how some movies have those making of documentaries that are longer than the actual movie itself? Well, the same thing is going to be happening here when you go through the Making of Karateka. Anybody who's played Atari 50, the anniversary celebration, will know exactly what they're getting into. For those of you that didn't try that out though, Digital Eclipse makes an interactive documentary that takes the form of an interactive timeline. As you go through the timeline, there will be different points that you can click on that will show you documents, photos, play video clips, audio clips, and then eventually even playing games. Now, obviously, it's not 50 years of gaming history and a large game catalog to go through, so they got a little bit more creative with this one. Now, instead, you're getting the history of Jordan Mechner himself and what were his early days of learning how to program on his Apple II making Asteroid knockoffs. As different versions of these games came out and publishers had various suggestions that he worked on, you'll get to try each one of the prototypes as they come along on the timeline, until eventually you get to when he moved on. No longer being viable to work on Atari clones, he made a game called Death Bounce, and now once again you'll get various versions of that in different prototypes, and they went even so far as Digital Eclipse to make a new remastered version, complete with achievements. As the timeline goes on, you'll learn his inspirations on why he moved on and eventually what inspired him to create Karateka itself. Just like the Atari clones and Death Bounce, you'll have various prototype versions that you can play of Karateka, along with the notes from the publisher itself showing what he should change before the game could go final and get released. This all culminates with you being able to now play what is known as the Holy Trinity of releases of Karateka, playing on the original Apple II, the Commodore 64, and the Atari 8-bit. And once again, just like Death Bounce, there's also a newly made remastered version. If the name Jordan Mechner sounds familiar to you, but you don't know Karateka, you may know his other famous game, Prince of Persia. I don't want to give any spoilers as to the history, as that's part of the fun of going through this, but just know that also gets quite a few mentions here as well. If the documentary aspect is not something that's for you, you can just go to the game library and directly play all the different versions of these games. On top of being able to play them, they do have some built-in playthroughs that are watchable, and because it's done through emulation, it has a cool little feature where you can jump in by pressing a button at any time. So while the Asteroid clones obviously will play like asteroids, and Death Bounce is kind of derivative from that, what exactly is Karateka? Again, without giving too much of the history away, since that is the fun of going through this, essentially Jordan Mechner had a love for movies and he wanted to make a more cinematic video game. He came up with the idea of using rotoscoping, which was him filming footage and drawing the pixels over that to make the animation more realistic. It's with this technique that he was able to release a karate-based game unlike anything released before. At the beginning of this review, I said it was the hardest/easiest. It was easy because I was able to just crush through because it was so interesting to get through everything, but also hardest because this really isn't like a regular game, so it's kind of hard to review it like one. From a game collection standpoint, it's not all that great in the sense of there aren't that many games to choose from, but the games that are there are super fun to play, and really it is more about going through the history and learning about it and having this interactive documentary. So if you go in wanting to be interested in that type of stuff, you will have a great time and it will be well worth the money. But if you're just looking for playing games, you really need to be a huge fan of Karateka itself. Also of note is the fact that they do mention that there was a remake of the game that was released in 2013 but it's not included as one of the playable games in the collection. When it comes to the graphics, it's also kind of hard to review because as more of a documentary, it's not really graphics, it's video. The menus are nice and clean and the video is super high quality without any artifacting or anything like that, so it comes down to the games themselves, which they're gonna be old Apple II games, and that's what they look like. You have some screen options with filters and borders, but that's pretty much it. It's nothing over the top or exciting. I guess one of the positives that you could say is that when it comes to the remastered versions, they definitely tried to retain the feel of the original while making them look a bit more modern. And the sound department is going to be in the same boat. When you're watching video clips, the audio is nice and clear, and if you have any issues hearing it, there are options for captions. When it comes to the games themselves, you're playing old Apple II games, and so the sound is not going to be great. Thankfully, when you get a little bit later and you can play the Commodore 64 and Atari 8-bit versions, the sound does improve a bit, and obviously the remastered ones sound even better. I think it is noteworthy, though, that despite the limitations of the Apple II, Jordan Mechner's father was able to compose some great music for the game. What's even cooler is being able to hear the different reinterpretations as the hardware gets better on the other ports. In the end, I did find this a super interesting way to be able to play through some older games and learn about it too. In a way, it's almost like what I wish we would be able to do with our Retro Reminiscing series here on I Dream of Retro Games. Not trying to do a cheap plug, it's just that I'm interested in the history of games, so this really appealed to me. It may not be for everybody, but for those of you that are interested, I do highly recommend it. I actually enjoyed it so much it inspired me to go back and buy the Atari 50 collection too, and I can't wait to go and play that next. I really do hope that both of these collections do well enough that Digital Eclipse can go back and do some other game series or other catalogs. So in the end, we have a collection that's light on games but heavy on history, so it really does have a very specific audience for it. I myself found it quite enjoyable, and I hope that you will as well and will at least give it a shot.